He's been with us before, and now with his hat back in the ring, former Cherokee Chief Chad Smith is here to talk about the issues. Chad, it's good to have you back, my friend.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been a long time since we've talked.
Delight to be here again.
Well, you've been kind of quiet. We haven't seen or heard much from you as of late, and now all of a sudden you're right back in the thick of things. What's the biggest issue that you see facing the Cherokee Nation?
You know, it's the issue that we've faced for centuries. What do we want the nation to become? Do we want to live up to the legacy of our ancestors and provide something greater to our children? You know, get on that pathway to greatness? Take the opportunity to make a contribution to mankind, like Redbird Smith said over 100 years ago? Or do we allow the Cherokee Nation to devolve into a petty political machine that becomes a very mediocre government that just doesn't have any strength and doesn't serve the people? So I think that's where we're at today. It's a continuing challenge.
Well, since we've started in that direction, just let me ask you point blank, in your opinion, are the needs of the people being met?
Of course not. You know, the way you meet the needs of the people is to help them help themselves, and the Cherokee Nation has always done that for centuries. And what is so fascinating, I think, is that that's what our culture is based upon. A great word, Gadugi, means come together and work together for the benefit of the people. It's not to promote yourself. It's not to promote a political party. It is to enable yourself. It's where you can take care of yourself, take care of your family, help take care of your community. And I think that's what we have to offer and should be offering as a nation. And I don't see that happening today.
I know I've heard Wilma Mankiller talk many times. In fact, she said the same thing to me very early on. One of the needs of the people has to do with just a simple thing, and that simple thing is water.
Yes.
Are there other simple issues that aren't being addressed?
Well, when we look at the nation and what it can do, it can create jobs. It can create a good health care system. Mm-hmm. It can create educational opportunities. Probably the biggest challenge today that's not being met is that during my term we took over management of Hastings Hospital. And we did that because there was a phenomenal wealth of intelligence with the doctors, and it was being hamstrung by the Indian Health Service because there's a federal bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. And when we lifted that and we took management, things began to flourish. Wait times decreased, contract health care rates increased, things became better. Unfortunately, the Indian Health Service has jurisdictional areas, and Claremore Hospital is still run by the federal government. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to do in this next term is break that barrier down and create a seamless health care system. And to do that, we have to take over management of Claremore Hospital. For example, in January, a young lady called me and she was very upset because under the Baker administration, they'd let her fall between the cracks, I guess that's how you would call it. But they would not provide the mammogram and the diagnostics for breast cancer. And it turned out she had breast cancer. And she had to go to the press and get those services, and in January she was able to get those services. And that's a good example of where people's lives are at stake. There's a great amount of hurt and misery and uncertainty, you know, with such a horrific disease, that we have to create a seamless system so nobody falls between those cracks.
You know, I have said for years, if you drive through parts of Oklahoma and you see smoke coming up out of the woods, a lot of folks might think, well, it's just some farmer burning brush.
Right.
What they don't realize is it may well be a ceremony that predates statehood.
Yes.
It may be a ceremony that came with the people when they were driven here. And in that light, the people who are, we're losing them every day.
Yes.
The old ones that retain the old ways, the old religions, the old medicines. Mm-hmm. Are you offering anything that they can hang their hat on, that they can say, look to Chad Smith and say, well, he cares about the old ones?
There's actually two things we want to do. Right now, our elderly services are disjointed. What I'd like to do is build a one-stop shop for elderly care. Instead of going for eyeglasses here and dentures here and having to check on your house here, put it in one place where you have teams of people who can deal with an elderly person when they come in with the respect that they deserve and say, you know, what do you need today? How can we help you? And integrate this package. And then the second thing, which I think is equally important, is that we need to build more Cherokee language immersion schools. We have a great one in Tahlequah, but I'd like to see them built in Stillwell, in Sallisaw, and Jay, and Mays County, and up north. Because what happens with that child when he learns Cherokee as a principal language, his intelligence, his creativity, the principles that drive his life are so much vibrant, and we can rely upon our elders to help teach that and pass the wisdom on that's essentially found in the language.
You know, it was interesting to me. I had a very dear friend who's passed on now, but William Smith, direct descendant of Redbird. And William told me one time, he said, you probably have noticed that sometimes when the people talk to you, meaning me, there's a hesitancy in their speech. He said, it's because, he said, it's very simple, it's because they are translating from original Cherokee language into English. And I'd not thought of that, you know, and it was like the light bulb went off, and I totally understood, which, you know, it applies to all tribes, really, when you get down to it. But it was a characteristic that had not occurred to me that there was a very simple explanation for.
Well, William Smith was my uncle, but you see that phenomenon with my own wife. She's full-blood. Her first language was Cherokee, and you can see it on occasions that it takes a moment to how best can you say in English some very rich thoughts that are found in Cherokee. In fact, you know, if you had one gift to give to children, is it to teach them Cherokee. Because if you watch, and you've seen this, Cherokee speakers are laughing all the time. They're just having the greatest time, and we don't know what's so embedded in the language, but it makes people happy. You know, English sort of makes people cross.
Oh boy, it does. I've been tripped up so many times, and you know that. We got about a minute. Actually, I got about 40 seconds. What one thing is imperative that the chief will have to accomplish, whomever it might be, in the next few years to benefit the people?
You have to have a government that's built upon principle rather than being a political regime. Anytime you have a regime that's built upon cronyism or nepotism or favoritism, violates its own policy, it becomes a destructive cycle downwards. It creates a system where people are fearful for their jobs, and vendors don't want to speak out and do the best job they can because they fear political reprisal. And during my term, we wouldn't tolerate that. And so for us to get back on our feet, to be a strong and healthy nation on that pathway to greatness, we have to eliminate those things and get back to a vision of making our people happy and healthy and self-reliant.
Chad, we're out of time. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, my
pleasure.
friend.
Thank you.
We'll talk. That's it for now, and we'll see you back next time on Green Country Perspectives.